The millionaire sees his ex-wife selling flowers on the street with identical triplets, and he walks closer and freezes. The city sprawled below like a constellation of broken promises, each light a life Ethan Miller would never touch, never know, never ruin. He stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his corner office, 40 stories up, watching the sun bleed out over the skyline. His reflection stared back. Sharp suit, perfect hair, the kind of success that photographs well, but sleeps poorly. He'd built this. Every contract, every deal, every calculated risk that paid off in zeros added to his bank account. At 37, he was exactly where he'd planned to be. CEO of a firm that made other CEOs nervous. A penthouse with a view that real estate agents called breathtaking. Invitations to galas where champagne cost more than most people's monthly rent. And he was empty. Not the poetic kind of empty that poets write about. The kind that wakes you up at 3 a.m. with your heart trying to punch through your ribs. The kind that makes you stand at windows like this, wondering if all that glass is really necessary. "You heading out, boss?" Ethan turned. Marcus, his assistant, stood in the doorway with that careful expression people wear around successful men who might be slightly unhinged. "Yeah, soon." Ethan's voice sounded far away, even to himself. Marcus hesitated. "The Singapore team sent over those revised projections you wanted. They're on your desk." "Thanks. I'll look at them tomorrow." Another hesitation. Marcus had been with him for 3 years, long enough to know when something was off. "You okay?" The question hung there, genuine and uncomfortable. Ethan forced a smile. "Just tired, long week. It's Tuesday." "Exactly." Marcus left, and Ethan was alone again with the city and his thoughts. That was the thing about success. It bought you the finest solitude money could provide. He should go home, order something expensive that he wouldn't taste, pour a drink he wouldn't finish, fall asleep on a couch that cost more than a used car, wake up and do it all again. Instead, he found himself in the storage closet of his penthouse at midnight, surrounded by boxes he'd meant to throw out years ago. Moving boxes, mostly empty. From the last time he'd convinced himself a change of address meant a change of self, his hand landed on one box that felt different, heavier. He pulled it down, dust coating his fingers, and sat on the hardwood floor like a kid on Christmas morning. Only this wasn't Christmas. This was archaeology. This was evidence. The box opened with a sigh of old cardboard, a concert ticket stub, a receipt from that Italian place that closed down, a paperback with someone else's notes in the margins. And there, near the bottom, face down like it knew what it was doing, a photograph. Ethan's hand shook as he picked it up. Sarah, God, she was young. They both were. 23, maybe 24 in this picture. They were at the beach. He couldn't remember which one. And she was laughing at something, head thrown back, hair wild in the wind. He was looking at her instead of the camera. He remembered that day, remembered thinking, with the absolute certainty of youth, that this was it. This was the thing worth keeping. And then he'd left. The memory hit him like a freight train he'd been standing in front of for 7 years. The phone call from his father, the opportunity in Europe, Milan, 3 years, guaranteed partnership track, the kind of offer you don't refuse if you're serious about your future. Sarah's face when he told her, the way her hand had moved to her stomach, barely showing then. Just a small curve she'd pointed out to him 2 weeks before with joy and terror in equal measure. "It's just 3 years," he'd said, like time was negotiable. "We can make it work." But he'd already known in that coward's way where you can feel yourself choosing before you admit you're choosing. His father had been clear. No distractions, no complications, no looking back. And Sarah, pregnant at 24 with no ring and a boyfriend who'd started measuring their relationship against his career trajectory, she was definitely a complication. He'd promised to send for her, promised to come back, promised to call, to video chat, to stay connected. He'd kept exactly none of those promises. The first year in Milan, he'd told himself he was too busy establishing himself. The second year, he'd convinced himself she was better off without him. By the third year, he'd become someone who didn't think about it at all. Someone who put that box in storage and built a life on top of it. Except you can't build on a grave without eventually noticing the smell. Ethan looked at the photo until his eyes burned. Sarah's laugh, frozen in time, and somewhere, somehow, there was an answer to the question he'd been too afraid to ask for 7 years. What happened to her? What happened to the baby? His baby. He'd left her pregnant. Actually left. Got on a plane and chose Milan over the mother of his child. What kind of person does that? The kind of person staring back at him from the window's reflection. His phone was in his hand before he'd decided to pick it up. He typed her name into every social media platform he had. Nothing. He tried variations. Maiden name. Nicknames. Anything. Nothing. It was like she'd vanished, or more likely, had every reason to make sure he never found her. Think, you idiot, he muttered to himself. He had a friend, Roberto, his attorney, the only person who knew the whole story because drunk confessions at 3 a.m. Don't stay buried. Roberto had connections, resources, ways of finding people that weren't entirely legal but weren't entirely not. The clock read 12:47 a.m. Too late to call, not too late to text. I need your help. I need to find someone. The response came faster than expected. This about her? Yes. Are you sure about this, man? It's been 7 years. Maybe some doors should stay closed. Ethan looked at the photo again. Sarah, laughing, alive, whole, before he'd broken everything. I'm sure. I need to know what happened. I need to know if she's okay. And if she's not, that was the question, wasn't it? What if he found her and everything was ruined? What if there was a 6-year-old kid out there who'd never met their father because that father had chosen spreadsheets and ambition over showing up? Then I need to know that too. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, I'll make some calls. This might take time. Thank you. Ethan set the phone down and stared at the photograph until the city lights started to blur. He didn't sleep that night. Didn't even try. Just sat on his expensive hardwood floor, surrounded by evidence of a life he'd abandoned, and waited for morning to come so he could start trying to find his way back to something real. The sun rose on a man who'd spent 7 years running from the best thing he'd ever destroyed. It was time to stop running. The morning came too early, the way it always did. Sarah Bennett woke to the sound of small feet thundering down the hallway. A stampede of 3, which somehow always sounded like 30. She'd learned to sleep light years ago, back when they were babies and every sound meant potential disaster. Now they were 6, and the disasters were just more creative. Mom, Noah took my dinosaur. I did not. Lucas is lying. I'm not lying. You're lying. Sarah closed her eyes for one more second of peace, then swung her legs out of bed. The apartment was small. 2 bedrooms that should have been 1. A kitchen where you couldn't open the fridge and the oven at the same time. A living room that doubled as a playroom, dining room, and her office. But it was theirs. Every inch paid for with her own hands. Nobody's lying, nobody's stealing, everybody's getting ready for school. She emerged from the bedroom in her worn robe, hair a mess, ready to referee, and whoever gets dressed first gets to pick breakfast. The chaos reorganized itself into motivated chaos. That was parenting. Redirecting the hurricane instead of trying to stop it. Emma appeared first, already dressed. Her dark hair pulled into a ponytail she'd somehow managed herself. 6 years old and fiercely independent. That one, too independent sometimes, like she'd decided early on that she needed to be the strong one. I'm ready, Emma announced, hands on her hips. So I pick pancakes. We don't have time for pancakes, baby. Cereal or toast. That's not fair, you said. I said you could pick breakfast. Those are the breakfasts we have. Sarah kissed the top of Emma's head before she could protest further. Go make sure your brothers are actually getting dressed and not building a fort. Too late. From the bedroom came the unmistakable sound of pillows hitting the floor. By 7:30, they were out the door. By 8, Sarah had dropped them at school with 3 lunchboxes, 3 hugs, and 3 different reminders. Emma to be patient with the new girl, Lucas to speak up if someone bothered him, Noah to please try to sit still during reading time. Then she walked. The number 12 bus took her downtown, where the streets started to pulse with real city life. Delivery trucks double parked, coffee shops with lines out the door, people in suits walking fast, everyone late for something. This was where the money moved, where business happened, where people like her became invisible. Her spot was on the corner of 5th and Madison, right where the financial district met the old market. She'd claimed it 4 years ago, and now the regulars knew her. The flower cart was already there. Doña Mercedes had the key to the storage unit and always set it up before Sarah arrived. "Morning, mija." The old woman smiled, wrinkles deepening around kind eyes. "I brought you coffee. The real stuff, not that watered-down thing you buy." "You're a saint." Sarah took the cup gratefully. The first sip was heaven. A saint doesn't gossip about her neighbors, so I'm safe. Mercedes squeezed her arm. "The roses came in beautiful today. You'll sell out by noon." They did inventory together. Roses, carnations, sunflowers, daisies, some exotic lilies for the high rollers. Sarah had learned the business through trial and error. Mostly error. Which flowers lasted longest? Which ones people bought for apologies versus celebrations? How to arrange them, so even the cheap bouquets looked expensive. "You working late tonight?" Mercedes asked, organizing the buckets. "Probably. Rent's due Friday and I'm still short." Mercedes made a disapproving sound in the back of her throat. "That landlord is a vulture. You tell him Mercedes said so. I'll be sure to pass that along when I'm begging for an extension." By 9, Mercedes was gone, and Sarah was alone with her flowers. She set up the chalkboard sign. Fresh flowers, $5 and up. Make someone smile today, and waited for the city to notice her. The morning crowd was predictable. Guilty husbands buying apology roses on their way to work. Assistants grabbing arrangements for their bosses' offices. Young couples who couldn't afford much, but still wanted something beautiful. Sarah knew them all by type, if not by name. "The usual?" she asked, when Mr. Patterson appeared like he did every Tuesday. "The usual?" He was 70 if he was a day, always in the same brown cardigan. "Visiting my wife." Sarah made up the bouquet of white roses he bought every week for a wife 20 years gone. She never charged him full price. Some things mattered more than profit margins. "She'd be lucky to have you," Sarah said, handing them over. "I'm the lucky one, dear. 43 years of marriage taught me that." He shuffled off, and Sarah watched him go. Something aching in her chest. 43 years. She couldn't imagine it. Couldn't imagine anyone staying that long. Wanting to stay that long. The lunch rush was busier. Office workers grabbing bouquets for secretaries. For mothers. For reasons they didn't share. Sarah's hands moved on autopilot. Cutting stems. Arranging petals. Wrapping paper. Making change. Her feet hurt. Her back hurt. The smell of flowers, which she'd once loved, was now just part of the air she breathed without noticing. At 2:30, her phone buzzed. "Early dismissal today. Teacher workshop? Can you get them?" Sarah's heart sank. Early dismissal meant leaving the cart, meant lost sales, meant coming up even shorter on rent. But she texted back. "On my way." She flagged down Mercedes, who was passing by with her shopping bags. "Emergency pickup. Can you watch the cart for an hour?" Go. Mercedes waved her off. "I raised 5 kids. I can sell some flowers." The school was a 15-minute bus ride that felt like an hour. Sarah made it just as the kids were being released. 3 identical backpacks bobbing in the crowd before she spotted their faces. "Mom!" Noah saw her first, launching himself into her arms like she'd been gone for days instead of hours. "Hey buddy, good day." I sat still during reading time. "Well, mostly still," Mrs. Anderson said. "Mostly counts." Emma appeared next, dragging Lucas by the hand. "He got in trouble for talking back." "I wasn't talking back. I was correcting." "We'll talk about it at home." Sarah took both their hands. "Come on. We're going back to work for a bit." The groans were immediate but expected. They knew the drill, homework at the flower cart, sitting on the curb with their notebooks, trying to focus while the city rushed past. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't what Sarah wanted for them, but it was what she could manage. And she'd learned that managing was its own kind of victory. Back at the cart, Mercedes had sold out the sunflowers. "Your kids." She scooped them into hugs like she hadn't seen them yesterday. "How are my little helpers?" "Hungry." All 3 answered in unison. Sarah pulled out the snacks she'd packed that morning. Crackers, cheese, apple slices. They sat on the curb in a row, eating and watching people pass. Emma helped count change. Lucas sorted the flowers by color. Noah asked every customer if they wanted to hear a joke. This was their life. Not the one Sarah had imagined at 24, pregnant and alone, terrified out of her mind, but the one she'd built anyway, one day at a time, one flower at a time, one small victory at a time, as the sun started to dip and the evening crowd thinned out. Emma looked up at her. "Mom, yeah, baby, why don't we have a dad?" The question landed like it always did, unexpected, even though Sarah knew it was coming eventually, knew it would keep coming. Lucas and Noah went quiet, waiting. Sarah knelt down so she was eye level with all three of them. "You know what you have? You have each other, and you have me, and you have Doña Mercedes, and Mrs. Anderson, and a whole bunch of people who love you." She touched each of their faces. "That's a pretty good family, don't you think? But other kids have dads," Emma pressed, because she never let things go. Some do, and some don't. Every family looks different. Sarah smiled, even though it hurt. "What matters is that we love each other, right?" "Right," Noah agreed easily, because he was 6, and that logic worked for him. Lucas just watched her with those careful eyes, like he could see all the things she wasn't saying. Emma nodded, but Sarah could tell this conversation wasn't over, just postponed. They packed up as the streetlights flickered on, loading the cart for Mercedes to lock away. 3 tired kids, 1 exhausted mom, taking the bus home through a city that never stopped moving. In the apartment, Sarah made spaghetti with jarred sauce while the kids did homework at the kitchen table. Bath time was a negotiation. Bedtime was a battle. But eventually, they were all tucked in. 3 small bodies in 2 beds, breathing steady in the dark. Sarah stood in the doorway watching them sleep. Her whole world, right there. 3 miracles she'd managed to keep alive and happy, despite everything stacked against them. She didn't let herself think about the man who should have been there helping. Didn't let herself wonder what he was doing, if he ever thought about them, if he even knew he'd left her with 3 instead of 1. Some doors, once closed, needed to stay that way. 3 weeks of dead ends had left Ethan feeling like a man chasing ghosts. Roberto's contacts had turned up nothing. No current address, no phone number, no digital footprint whatsoever. It was like Sarah had decided to disappear from the world that connected people, choosing instead to exist only in the spaces technology couldn't reach. "Maybe that's the point," Roberto had said over drinks the night before. "Maybe she doesn't want to be found, especially not by you." The words had stung because they were probably true. Now, Ethan walked the downtown streets without purpose, his meeting with potential investors having gone exactly nowhere. They'd wanted vision, passion, hunger. He'd given them spreadsheets and distraction. The whole presentation had felt hollow, like he was performing a role he'd already outgrown. The afternoon air was thick with that pre-rain heaviness that made the city feel smaller, more intimate. People rushed past with their heads down, everyone trying to get somewhere before the sky opened up. Ethan should have been heading back to the office, should have been returning calls, reviewing contracts, doing any of the 1,000 things that usually consumed his days. Instead, he just walked. That's when the smell hit him. Jasmine, not perfume, the real thing, mixed with roses and something else he couldn't name. The scent reached into his chest and squeezed, pulling up a memory so vivid he actually stopped moving. Sarah, 19 years old, working at that flower shop near campus, coming home with petals in her hair, smelling like springtime even in winter. He followed the scent like a man in a trance. The flower cart appeared around the corner, a burst of color against the gray concrete, buckets of roses in every shade, sunflowers bright as little suns, daisies and carnations and arrangements wrapped in brown paper. And behind it all, a woman with her hair pulled back, wearing jeans and a simple blue shirt, holding a bunch of yellow tulips. Ethan's heart stopped. Then it started again. Too fast, too hard. Sarah, she was older. Of course she was. 7 years older. They both were, but somehow more herself than he remembered. The softness of youth had been replaced by something stronger, more defined. She looked tired. She looked beautiful. She looked like every mistake he'd ever made standing in front of him in human form. And around her, 3 kids. 3. They were maybe 5 or 6 years old, all roughly the same size, helping organize flowers into the buckets. A girl with dark hair and a ponytail, fierce concentration on her face. 2 boys, one arranging stems with careful precision, the other chattering away at anyone who'd listen. Triplets. The word echoed in Ethan's skull like a bell he couldn't unring. She'd been pregnant with triplets. He'd left her pregnant with 3 babies. The world tilted sideways. One of the boys, the chatty one, looked up and spotted him staring. "Do you want to buy some flowers, mister? We have lots. Mom says the roses are really good today." The sound of the child's voice, his child's voice, snapped something inside Ethan. He tried to speak, but nothing came out. Just stood there like an idiot, probably looking terrifying to a 6-year-old. Then Sarah looked up. Their eyes met. He watched the recognition hit her in stages. Confusion, disbelief, then something that looked like fear mixed with fury, mixed with something else he couldn't read. Her hand moved instinctively to the nearest child's shoulder, protective, pulling them closer. "Sarah," he managed to say, his voice coming out rough and strange. She didn't respond, just stared at him like he was a hallucination that might disappear if she didn't acknowledge it. The little girl, the fierce one, looked between them, sensing the tension. "Mom, do you know him?" "Go inside the coffee shop," Sarah said quietly, not taking her eyes off Ethan. "All 3 of you, get a cookie. I'll be there in a minute. But, Emma, now." The tone left no room for argument. The kids went, casting curious glances back at the stranger who'd made their mother's face go white. When they were gone, Sarah spoke, her voice low and sharp. "What are you doing here?" I wasn't." Ethan couldn't form complete thoughts. "I didn't know you'd be here. I wasn't looking for you. I mean, I was, but not." He stopped, took a breath. "That came out wrong. Most things you say do." She crossed her arms, a physical barrier. "You need to leave. Sarah, please. You don't get to please me. You don't get to show up out of nowhere and..." She cut herself off, glancing toward the coffee shop where 3 small faces were pressed against the window. "You need to go. Right now." "Are they mine?" The question came out before he could stop it. Sarah's laugh was sharp and brittle. "You're seriously asking me that? Right now, here. I need to know. You needed to know 7 years ago." Her eyes were bright with unshed tears or rage or both. "You needed to know when I was throwing up every morning and couldn't afford prenatal vitamins. You needed to know when I was in labor for 19 hours with 3 babies. You needed to know every single day since then." She stepped closer, voice dropping to a fierce whisper. "You don't get to need anything from me now." Ethan felt like he was drowning on dry land. "You're right. You're absolutely right. He ran his hand through his hair, desperate. "Can I just buy some flowers? Are you kidding me? I don't know what else to do." It came out raw and honest. "I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to say. I've been looking for you for weeks, and now you're here, and I'm completely..." He gestured helplessly. "Please, just let me buy some flowers." Sarah stared at him for a long moment. Then, wordlessly, she grabbed a small mixed bouquet from one of the buckets and shoved it at him. $20. He pulled out his wallet with shaking hands, gave her 2 20s. "I don't have change. Keep it. I don't want your money, Ethan." "Then give it to them." He nodded toward the coffee shop. "Buy them something, please." She took the bills, crumpling them in her fist. He started to walk away, because what else could he do? But something made him turn back. "Can I..." He swallowed hard. "Can I talk to you? Just talk. Not here. Somewhere else, please." "Why?" "Because I've spent 7 years being a coward and I'd like to stop." Sarah's expression flickered. Surprise. Maybe. Or suspicion. She was quiet for so long he thought she'd just tell him to go to hell. He would have deserved it. Instead, she pulled a receipt from her pocket and scribbled something on the back, walked over and shoved it into his hand without meeting his eyes. "That's my number. Text me. Don't call." She stepped back, putting distance between them. "And don't come back here. My kids don't need to see this." Her kids, not our kids. The words hit like a physical blow, but he nodded. "Thank you." She didn't respond, just turned back to her flowers, dismissing him the way you dismiss something that doesn't matter, something that never should have been there in the first place. Ethan walked away on legs that didn't feel entirely solid. He made it 2 blocks before he had to stop. Leaning against a building, trying to remember how to breathe normally. Triplets. He had 3 children, 3 6-year-old kids who didn't know he existed, who had Sarah's eyes and probably her smile, who helped her sell flowers on a street corner because that was their life now, the life she'd built without him. His phone was in his hand. The receipt paper was crumpled but readable, 10 digits that felt like either salvation or damnation. He wasn't sure which. He didn't text her right away, didn't trust himself to know what to say. Instead, he just stood there in the middle of downtown, holding a bouquet of flowers that probably cost $5 at most, that he'd paid $40 for, and tried to understand how you begin to apologize for destroying everything. The rain started then. Soft at first, then harder. People scattered, looking for cover. Ethan just stood there and let it fall, the bouquet wilting in his hands, water running down his face like tears. He hadn't yet earned the right to cry. Somewhere in a coffee shop nearby, 3 kids he'd never met were eating cookies, oblivious to the fact that their entire world might be about to change. He pulled out his phone and typed, "It's Ethan. Can we meet? I know I have no right to ask, but I'm asking anyway." He stared at the message for a full minute before hitting send. Then he waited. The response came 20 minutes later, after he'd walked 6 blocks in the rain, after he'd given up hope of hearing back at all. Saturday, 2 p.m., Moretti's Cafe on 8th. Don't be late and don't expect anything. He typed back, "I'll be there. Thank you." No response. Ethan looked at the flowers in his hand, bedraggled now, beaten down by rain, and thought about the woman selling them on a street corner with 3 kids and a spine made of steel. He'd broken everything 7 years ago. Saturday. He'd start trying to figure out if anything could be fixed. Ethan arrived at Moretti's 45 minutes early. He'd barely slept since Tuesday. The encounter with Sarah playing on repeat every time he closed his eyes. 3 kids. Triplets. The word had burrowed into his brain and refused to leave. He'd spent 3 nights researching triplet pregnancies. The risks, the complications, the sheer physical toll. Every article made the guilt worse. She'd gone through all of that alone. Because of him, the cafe was tucked into a quiet corner off 8th Street, the kind of place that survived on regulars rather than tourists. Small tables, mismatched chairs, the smell of coffee and fresh bread. Ethan picked a table in the back, away from the windows, and ordered an espresso he didn't drink. At 1:58, the door opened. Sarah walked in wearing jeans and a gray sweater, her hair down around her shoulders. She looked nervous, which somehow made Ethan feel worse, like he'd lost the right to make her feel anything, even nervousness. She spotted him and walked over, not quite meeting his eyes, sat down across from him like she was preparing for battle. "Thanks for coming," Ethan said. "Let's just get this over with." Her hands were folded on the table, fingers laced tight. "What do you want?" "I want to explain." "There's nothing to explain. You left. That's the whole story." "Sarah, you knew I was pregnant." Her voice was steady but sharp. "You knew and you left anyway. What else is there?" The accusation hung between them. Ethan had rehearsed this conversation 100 times in his head, but now that she was here, actually in front of him, every prepared word evaporated. "You're right," he said finally. "You're absolutely right, I knew. And I left, and there's no excuse for that. So, why are we here?" "Because I've spent 7 years trying to bury what I did, and it's not working. Because I found your picture, and I couldn't stop thinking about what happened to you. Because..." He stopped, forced himself to be honest. "Because I'm a selfish bastard who needs to know what his cowardice cost." Sarah's expression flickered. Surprise. Maybe. Like she'd expected excuses, not confession. The waitress appeared, breaking the moment. Sarah ordered coffee. Black. They waited in silence until it arrived. "1 baby," Sarah said finally, staring into her cup. That's what the first ultrasound showed. 1 baby. I was terrified, but I thought, okay, I can do this. People do this alone all the time. Ethan's chest tightened, but he didn't interrupt. The second ultrasound was at 12 weeks. That's when they found the other 2. A bitter laugh. The tech got all excited, like it was good news. "Congratulations, you're having triplets," like I'd won the lottery. She looked up at him then, and her eyes were hard. "I was making $9 an hour at a flower shop, Ethan, living in a studio apartment. And suddenly I was going to have 3 babies. God, Sarah. I tried to call you, did you know that? I called your number maybe 20 times that first month. It was disconnected. I changed it, he admitted, shame burning through him. My father said a clean break was better. Fresh start. A fresh start. She repeated the words like they were poison. How'd that work out for you? It didn't. Nothing worked. I just got really good at pretending it did. Sarah took a long drink of coffee. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter. I thought about not keeping them, the pregnancy. 3 babies, no father, no money. Every rational part of my brain said I couldn't do it. Ethan's throat closed up, but then I'd feel them move, all 3 of them, like they were already fighting for space, already demanding to exist. She smiled, but it was sad. They didn't ask to be here, didn't ask for an absent father and a broke mother. They just asked to be born, so I let them. I'm so sorry. The words felt pathetically inadequate. Sorry doesn't pay medical bills. Ethan, sorry doesn't hold your hand during a C-section. Sorry doesn't wake up for 3 crying babies at 2 a.m. I know. Do you? Her voice rose slightly. Do you have any idea what the last 7 years have been like? Working 2 jobs while pregnant because one wasn't enough? Living with strangers because I couldn't afford my own place? Bringing 3 newborns home to a 1-bedroom apartment and praying I could keep them alive? Each word was a knife. Ethan took them all, knowing he deserved every single one. They were premature, Sarah continued. 6 weeks early, spent 2 weeks in the NICU. Emma had breathing problems. Lucas wouldn't eat. Noah was so small he fit in my hand. Her voice cracked. And I was alone, completely alone. My parents had disowned me for getting pregnant without being married. Your calls never came. It was just me and 3 tiny humans who needed everything I didn't know how to give. But you did give it. Ethan's voice was rough. They're here. They're healthy. You did that. Don't you dare give me credit like you have any right to judge what I did. She wiped at her eyes angrily. You don't get to show up now and act proud of me. You weren't there. You're right. I'm sorry. I just meant... He stopped. Started again. They seem like amazing kids from what I saw. They are. Her voice softened despite herself. Emma's fierce and stubborn and way too serious for 6. Lucas is quiet but sees everything. Noah never stops talking and loves everyone immediately. She stopped, like she'd revealed too much. They're mine. That's all that matters. Are they? Ethan couldn't finish the question. Yours? Sarah's laugh was sharp. Biologically, yes. In any way that matters. No. You're just the guy who left. That's all you get to be. The words hit harder than a slap. But Ethan pushed forward anyway. I want to meet them. Properly. I want to be part of their lives. Absolutely not. Sarah. No. She leaned forward, eyes fierce. You don't get to waltz back in and play dad now. They have a life. A stable life. I'm not disrupting that for your guilty conscience. It's not about my conscience. It's about them deserving to know their father. Their father. Her voice dripped with contempt. You're not their father. You're a sperm donor who got lucky. A father shows up. A father stays. A father doesn't abandon his pregnant girlfriend for a job in Europe. I know I don't deserve it, Ethan said desperately. I know I have no right to ask. But I'm asking anyway, please, let me try. Let me be part of this. Why? The question was raw. Why now? Why do you care now when you didn't care then? Because I was a coward then. Because my father convinced me that success meant something different than it does. Because I was 29 and stupid and thought I had time to figure things out later. He ran his hands through his hair. Because I've spent 7 years building a life that means nothing, and I can't do it anymore. Sarah was quiet for a long time, studying him like she was trying to see inside his skull, trying to determine if any of this was real. They ask about you sometimes, she said finally. Not you specifically, just why they don't have a dad like other kids do. And I tell them that families come in all shapes, that we're enough as we are. You are enough. You're more than enough. They're lucky to have you. But don't they deserve the chance to know both parents? Even if one of them is a screw-up who's trying to be better. Sarah's coffee cup sat empty between them. Outside, the city moved on, oblivious to the conversation that was reshaping 2 lives, maybe 5. I can't promise anything, she said slowly. I need to think about what's best for them. Not for you. Not even for me. I understand. If I agree to this, and that's a massive if, it would be slow. Supervised. They don't need to know who you are right away. Hope flared in Ethan's chest. Fragile and terrifying. Whatever you think is best. And if you hurt them, if you disappear again, I will make sure you regret it for the rest of your life. I won't. I promise. Your promises don't mean much to me, Ethan. Then let me prove they can. She stood up, gathering her bag. I'll think about it. Don't contact me. If I decide this is a terrible idea, you'll never hear from me again. If I don't, I'll call you. Okay? She turned to leave, then paused. They're good kids, the best. And they don't need fixing because nothing about them is broken. Remember that. Then she was gone, leaving Ethan alone with 2 empty coffee cups and the weight of 7 years pressing down on his shoulders. He sat there for a long time after she left, trying to memorize every word she'd said, every expression on her face. She'd been through hell, built a life from ashes, raised 3 kids with nothing but determination and love, and he'd been building spreadsheets. His phone buzzed. A text from Roberto. How'd it go? Ethan typed back. She's thinking about it. That's more than I deserve. What are you going to do if she says yes? Ethan looked at the question for a long moment before responding. Figure out how to be the person I should have been 7 years ago. 10 days passed before Sarah called. Ethan had spent every single one of them in a state of suspended anxiety, checking his phone obsessively, convincing himself she'd decided against it, that he'd never hear from her again. He'd drafted 100 texts he never sent, walked past her flower cart 3 times without stopping, lay awake at night, wondering if he'd already lost his last chance. When his phone finally rang with an unknown number, he nearly dropped it. Hello, it's Sarah. Her voice was careful. Measured, are you free Sunday afternoon? His heart kicked into overdrive. Yes, absolutely. Whatever works for you. Riverside Park, 3 o'clock. There's a playground near the north entrance. A pause. I'm not telling them who you are yet. You're just a friend. Someone I know who wanted to meet them. I understand. And Ethan, her voice hardened slightly, if this goes badly, if you upset them or make this weird, it's over. 1 chance. That's all you get. I won't mess this up. You already did once. The line went dead. Sunday afternoon arrived with perfect weather. Sunny, but not too hot. The kind of day that made the city feel almost manageable. Ethan showed up 30 minutes early, pacing near the playground entrance like a nervous wreck. He'd changed clothes 4 times that morning, finally settling on jeans and a simple shirt. Nothing too formal, nothing that screamed, absent father overcompensating. At 2:58, he saw them coming down the path. Sarah walked in the middle, a kid on each side holding her hands, the third running slightly ahead. Even from a distance, Ethan could tell which was which. Emma, the girl, serious and watchful. Lucas, quiet, taking everything in. Noah, the one racing forward, full of energy that wouldn't be contained. His kids, the thought still felt surreal, like a truth his brain couldn't fully process. Noah spotted him first. Mom, is that your friend? Sarah's expression was unreadable as they approached. Yes, that's him. His name is Ethan. Can you guys say hello? Hi. Noah bounced up immediately, hand extended like a tiny businessman. I'm Noah. I'm 6.5. Well, 6 and 3 months. But that's almost half. Ethan shook the small hand, his throat tight. Nice to meet you, Noah. That's pretty close to half. This is Lucas, Noah continued, pointing to his brother. He doesn't talk much, but he's really smart. And that's Emma. She's the bossy one. I'm not bossy. I'm responsible, Emma corrected, crossing her arms. She studied Ethan with suspicious eyes. How do you know our mom? We knew each other a long time ago, Ethan said, glancing at Sarah for guidance. Before you were born. Like, when you were old, Noah asked. I'm not that old now, Ethan said, managing a smile. You look old. You have wrinkles. Noah? Sarah's voice held a warning, but Ethan saw the corner of her mouth twitch. It's fine. I do have wrinkles. He looked at Lucas, who'd been silent, just watching. What about you, Lucas? Do I pass inspection? Lucas considered this seriously. You're tall. I am. Taller than Mom. Most people are, Sarah interjected. Okay, guys. Ethan's going to hang out with us for a bit. Show him you know how to act like humans and not wild animals. The playground was sprawling. Swings, slides, climbing structures, a sandbox that had seen better days. Noah immediately dragged Ethan toward the swings. Can you push me? I want to go really high. Mom never pushes high enough. I push you plenty high, Sarah called after them. You just have no fear. Ethan positioned himself behind the swing, hands carefully on the chains. Ready, ready. He pushed, gently at first, then harder, as Noah demanded, higher, higher. The sound of the kids' laughter did something strange to Ethan's chest, something that felt like breaking and healing at the same time. Emma appeared at his elbow. You're doing it wrong. You have to time it better. Oh yeah. Want to show me? She demonstrated with exaggerated patience, like she was teaching a particularly slow student. See, you push when the swing comes back, not when it's going forward. That's just physics. You know about physics. I know about lots of things. She tilted her head. Evaluating him? Why did you want to meet us? The question was so direct it caught Ethan off guard. Because your mom told me about you guys and I thought you sounded interesting. That's not a real answer. This kid was 6 going on 30. You're right. The real answer is that I wanted to meet the kids who were important to someone who used to be important to me. Emma considered this. Used to be, is important to me. Do you like her? Emma, go play, Sarah called, appearing beside them. She looked at Ethan. Sorry, she's relentless. She's amazing. He meant it. They watched the kids scatter to different parts of the playground. Noah to the slide, Emma to the monkey bars, Lucas to a quiet corner where he was examining something in the grass. What's he looking at? Ethan asked. Probably a bug. He's obsessed with insects, has a whole collection at home. Sarah's voice held that particular kind of pride parents get when talking about their kids' weird interests. Last week he found a beetle and made me look up what species it was. And was it anything interesting? A very common ground beetle. He named it Steve anyway. Ethan laughed, and Sarah almost smiled almost. They're incredible, he said quietly. All 3 of them. I know. They stood in awkward silence for a moment, watching Lucas carefully pick up whatever he'd found and bring it to Emma for consultation. How are you doing? Ethan ventured. With work, everything. We manage. That's not what I asked. Sarah shot him a look. We're fine, Ethan. We don't need rescuing. I wasn't offering to rescue anyone. I was asking how you're doing. Why? Because I care. You don't get to care. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Fair enough. He watched Noah attempt to climb up the slide the wrong way. Can I at least help if you need it? We don't need help. Everyone needs help sometimes. Not from you. But her voice lacked conviction. Lucas approached them, hand outstretched. Look, Ladybug. Ethan knelt down to see it better. A tiny red shell with black spots crawling across the kid's palm. That's a good find. 7 spots. That means it's a 7-spotted ladybug, Coccinella septempunctata. Lucas said the Latin name perfectly. You know the scientific name. I know lots of scientific names. Want to hear more? Lucas, don't trap the man, Sarah warned. I'd love to hear more, Ethan said, and he meant it. Lucas launched into an explanation of beetle classification that was way beyond first-grade level, his quiet voice growing animated. Ethan listened, asking questions, genuinely fascinated by both the information and the kid delivering it. Emma joined them, breathless from the monkey bars. Lucas, you're being boring. I'm not boring, I'm educational. Same thing. It's not the same thing at all. Hey, Sarah intervened. Emma, apologize, Lucas. Maybe save some beetle facts for later. It's really okay, Ethan said. I like learning about beetles. Noah crashed into the group like a small tornado. Can we get ice cream, please? There's a truck over there and I saw it and I want chocolate and please, please, please. Sarah checked her watch. We've only been here 40 minutes. That's basically forever, Noah argued. That's basically not even close to forever. I could buy, Ethan offered, then immediately regretted it when Sarah's expression hardened. Or not, sorry, overstepped. But Noah had already latched onto the idea. Can he buy us ice cream, Mom? Can he? Sarah looked trapped between not wanting charity and not wanting to disappoint her kids. Fine, but just this once. The ice cream truck was doing good business. A line of kids and parents all seeking sugar and cold. Noah ordered chocolate with sprinkles. Emma wanted vanilla with nothing, because I like to taste the actual flavor. Lucas took several minutes deciding before choosing mint chip. Ethan handed over the money, acutely aware of Sarah's discomfort, but not sure how to fix it. They found a bench, kids running off to eat their ice cream on the grass. Sarah sat on one end, Ethan on the other, careful distance between them. "Thank you," she said stiffly, "for the ice cream. It's nothing. It's not nothing, just don't make a habit of buying them things. Okay? I don't want them to think that's what this is about. What do you want them to think this is about?" She was quiet for a long time. "I don't know yet." They watched the kids together. Noah getting ice cream all over his face. Emma eating with careful precision. Lucas examining his cone like it held secrets. "They're really something," Ethan said softly. "Yeah, they are. You did good, Sarah. You did really good." She didn't respond, but something in her posture shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe the first tiny crack in the wall she'd built. Noah ran back over. Chocolate everywhere. "Are you coming back to play with us again?" Ethan looked at Sarah. She looked at the sky, the ground, anywhere but at him. Finally, quietly. "Maybe, if your mom says it's okay." "Is it okay, Mom?" Sarah met Ethan's eyes then. He saw the war happening there. Protection versus possibility. Fear versus hope. "We'll see," she said. But her hand moved to Noah's hair, and for just a second, Ethan saw what she must look like when she let her guard down, when she wasn't busy being strong enough for 4 people. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. 3 more Sundays passed, each one slightly easier than the last. Ethan learned that Noah told the same jokes on repeat, that Emma softened if you asked her opinion on things, that Lucas would talk for hours if you found the right topic. He learned Sarah's tells, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when nervous, how she checked her phone constantly like she was waiting for bad news. They were starting to feel like something. Not quite a family, but not strangers either. Something in between, fragile and undefined. Then everything changed on a Thursday afternoon. Ethan was in a meeting, some presentation about quarterly projections that he couldn't bring himself to care about. When his phone buzzed, he ignored it. Then it buzzed again, and again. He glanced down, 3 texts from Sarah, which was unusual. She never texted him unless it was about the kids, and even then, it was sparse. "Call me when you can, actually. Call me now, Ethan. I need you to call me," he excused himself. Practically running into the hallway, dialed her number with hands that suddenly felt clumsy. She answered on the first ring. "Where are you?" "At work. What's wrong?" "I'm at the hospital." Her voice was steady, but he could hear the fear underneath. "I collapsed at the cart. Doña Mercedes called an ambulance." The floor tilted. "Are you okay? What happened?" "They're running tests. I don't know yet. But Ethan..." Her voice cracked. "The kids, they're at school. Someone needs to pick them up in an hour and Mercedes can't. She has her granddaughter today, and I don't have anyone else. I'll get them." He was already moving toward the elevator. "Which school?" "PES 142. They get out at 3:15. You need to be on the pickup list. But I'll call the office and..." "Sarah, breathe. I'll figure it out. Just focus on you." "Which hospital?" "Mount Sinai, but don't come here. The kids need..." "I know. Kids first. I'll get them. I'll take care of them. You just let the doctors do their job." A shaky exhale. "Thank you. Text me updates when you can." "Okay." The line went dead. Ethan stood in the elevator, heart hammering, trying to process what just happened. Sarah collapsed. Sarah was in the hospital, and he was about to pick up 3 kids who barely knew him and tell them, what? That their mom was sick? That everything might not be okay? He called Roberto on the way to his car. "I need you to clear my schedule for the rest of the week. Maybe longer." "What's going on?" "Family emergency. You don't have..." Roberto stopped. "Oh, the kids. Their mom's in the hospital. I need to pick them up from school." "Jesus. Do you even know how to take care of kids?" "I'm about to learn real fast. The school was a 20-minute drive that Ethan made in 12, probably breaking several traffic laws. He parked haphazardly and ran to the front office, where a tired-looking secretary eyed him with suspicion. "I'm here to pick up the Bennett kids, Emma, Lucas, and Noah," their mom called. "She should have added me to the list." The secretary checked her computer. "You're Ethan Miller." "Yes." "I'd please." He showed his driver's license, bouncing on his heels while she verified everything with painful slowness. Finally, she nodded. "Classroom 8. Down the hall. Third door on the right." The classroom was chaos. Kids packing backpacks, parents clustered near the door, a teacher trying to maintain order. Ethan spotted the triplets immediately. Emma saw him first, her face scrunching in confusion. "Ethan, what are you doing here? Your mom asked me to pick you guys up today. Where's Mom?" Lucas appeared at Emma's shoulder, worry already creeping into his expression. "She had to go to the doctor. She's fine," Ethan added quickly, hoping it was true. "But she asked me to hang out with you guys for a bit." Noah grabbed his hand. "Can we get pizza?" "Noah, this is serious," Emma snapped. Then to Ethan, "What kind of doctor is she sick?" The teacher approached, a young woman with kind eyes. "Everything okay here?" "Yes, I'm a friend of their mom's. Sarah Bennett. She called to add me to the pickup list. I saw the note. You're all set." She knelt down to the kids' level. "Your mom will be so proud of how grown up you're all being, mister. Miller is going to take good care of you, okay?" They nodded, but Emma's hand found Lucas's, and they both looked scared. In the car, strapped into the booster seats that Ethan had frantically ordered delivered to his office that afternoon, Noah asked the question they were all thinking. "Is Mom going to die?" Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "No, absolutely not. She's just not feeling well. So the doctors are checking to make sure she's okay. People die in hospitals," Emma said quietly. "Jenny from school's grandpa died in a hospital. That was different. Your mom is young and strong. She's going to be fine." He said it with conviction he didn't feel. The truth was, he had no idea what was wrong. Sarah's texts had stopped coming. Every red light felt like an eternity. His apartment, sleek, modern, completely child-unfriendly, was a disaster waiting to happen. Glass coffee table at shin height, sharp corners everywhere, abstract art that cost more than Sarah probably made in 6 months. The kids walked in slowly, looking around with wide eyes. "Whoa," Noah breathed. "This is like a hotel." "Do you live here alone?" Lucas asked. "Yeah, that's sad," Emma observed. "It's too big for one person." She wasn't wrong. Ethan ordered pizza, plain cheese, pepperoni, and one with just sauce because Lucas was not sure about cheese today. While they waited, he tried to figure out what to do with 3 anxious 6-year-olds in an apartment designed for impressing clients, not comforting children. "Do you guys have homework?" "Yes," Emma said. "Want to work on it?" "Not really." "Fair enough." They ended up on the floor of his living room. Backpacks open, papers scattered. Emma worked with fierce concentration. Like if she focused hard enough, she could control things that couldn't be controlled. Lucas stared at the same math problem for 10 minutes. Noah gave up entirely and started drawing pictures. "What are you drawing?" Ethan asked, sitting down beside him. "Mom, so she knows we're thinking about her." The simple statement hit Ethan like a punch. "That's really nice, Noah. Can we bring it to her? Maybe when the doctors say it's okay for visitors." His phone buzzed. Finally, a text from Sarah, still running tests. "Might be here a while. How are they?" "They're okay. Fed them pizza, working on homework. Well, 2 of them are. Noah's drawing you a picture?" "Thank you. I'm so sorry to put this on you." "Don't apologize. Just focus on getting better. We're fine." The "we're" felt significant, like he'd accidentally claimed membership in something he wasn't sure he belonged to yet. Emma appeared at his elbow. "Can we call her?" "The doctors are examining her right now, but maybe later." "Okay. I don't like this." Her voice was small, un-Emma-like. "I want my mom." "I know, kiddo. Me too." She looked up at him sharply. "You want your mom?" "No, I want your mom to be okay." That came out wrong, but Emma was studying him with those 2 smart eyes. "Do you like our mom, Emma? Because if you don't, you shouldn't be here. We don't need people who don't actually care." 6 years old, and already so tired of being disappointed. Ethan knelt down so they were eye level. I care about your mom and about you guys. I know I'm basically a stranger, and I know this is scary, but I promise I'm not going anywhere until your mom comes home. Okay. Emma's lip trembled. Then, so quietly, he almost missed it. Okay. The pizza arrived. They ate on the living room floor because the dining table felt too formal, too distant. Noah got sauce on the white carpet. And for once, Ethan didn't care. Sarah's next text came at 8 o'clock. They're keeping me overnight for observation. Something about exhaustion and anemia, and they want to run more tests tomorrow. Can you? Yes. Whatever you need. There are spare keys under the flower pot by the door. The apartment is a mess. I'm sorry. There are toothbrushes in the bathroom, pajamas in their dresser. Lucas needs his stuffed penguin, or he won't sleep. Emma will say she doesn't need anything, but she needs her nightlight. Noah will try to negotiate a later bedtime. Don't fall for it. Ethan read the instructions twice, memorizing them like they were the most important contract he'd ever reviewed. Got it? Don't worry about anything except getting better. Ethan. Yeah. Thank you, really. He stared at the message for a long moment before responding. That's what family does. He regretted it immediately. Too presumptuous. Too much. But she didn't correct him. And after a minute, a single word came back. Yeah. Sarah's apartment was exactly what Ethan expected, and somehow worse. A tiny 2-bedroom where every inch of space fought for purpose. Toys in careful bins, dishes drying by the sink, a calendar on the wall covered in color-coded schedules, the organized chaos of a life held together by sheer force of will. The kids went quiet when they walked in, like coming home without their mom made it feel wrong. Okay, Ethan said, trying to sound confident. Bedtime routine. Who wants to tell me what that looks like? Bath, Emma said. Then pajamas, then teeth, then stories, then bed. But Mom lets us have a snack first, Noah added hopefully. Nice try. Your mom warned me about that. Worth a shot. Bath time was an adventure in controlled flooding. Noah turned it into a splash zone. Lucas wanted the water a specific temperature that took 3 tries to get right. Emma insisted on privacy, which meant Ethan stood outside the door feeling useless while she managed it herself. Getting them into pajamas felt like herding cats. Noah streaked through the apartment naked, laughing. Lucas couldn't find his favorite shirt. Emma emerged fully dressed and annoyed with both her brothers. You're bad at this, she informed Ethan. I'm aware. Mom does it faster. Your mom has practice. Are you going to keep doing this? Taking care of us? The question stopped him mid-search for Lucas's penguin. Do you want me to? Emma shrugged, but her eyes were too old for her face. I don't know. People usually leave. I'm not going to leave. That's what people say before they leave. There was no good answer to that. Ethan had been one of those people. So he just said, I'm here now, that's what matters. She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Not trust, not yet, but not complete dismissal either. He found the penguin, a battered stuffed animal that had clearly seen better days, and brought it to Lucas, who clutched it like a lifeline. Thank you, Lucas whispered. No problem. Buddy? Storytime happened in Emma and Lucas's room. All 3 kids piled onto Emma's bed while Ethan sat on the floor and read from a well-worn copy of Where the Wild Things Are. Noah fell asleep halfway through, mouth open, completely gone. Lucas made it to the end, but was clearly fighting it. Only Emma stayed sharp, watching Ethan read like she was looking for mistakes. Mom does the voices better, she said when he finished. I bet she does. But you're okay for a beginner. It felt like high praise coming from her. He carried Noah to the room he shared with Lucas, tucked both boys in, and stood there for a moment watching them sleep. These tiny humans who shared his DNA but felt like complete mysteries. Lucas curled around his penguin. Noah sprawled across his bed like he'd been thrown there by a tornado. His kids. The thought still didn't feel real. Back in the other room, Emma was sitting up in bed with her nightlight glowing softly. Can we call Mom now? Ethan checked his phone. 9:30. Let me text her and see if she's awake. Sarah responded immediately. Yes, please. He FaceTimed her, and Emma's face lit up when Sarah appeared on the screen, even though she looked exhausted, her hair flat against the pillow, hospital gown washing her out. "Hi, baby," Sarah said, and her voice was so full of love it hurt to hear. "Are you okay? When are you coming home?" "Soon. The doctors just want to make sure everything's working right." "How was your day? Was Ethan nice to you?" Emma glanced at him. "He was okay. He can't do baths as good as you, and he lets Noah get away with stuff." "I'm right here," Ethan protested from off-screen. "I know," Emma grinned, and it was the first real smile he'd seen from her all day. "Well, it sounds like you survived," Sarah said. "That's good. Are your brothers asleep?" "Yeah, Noah passed out during the story. Lucas tried to stay awake but couldn't." "That sounds about right." Sarah's expression softened. "I miss you guys so much." "We miss you too. When are you really coming home?" "Tomorrow. I hope they're running more tests in the morning." "What kind of tests?" Sarah hesitated, and Ethan saw her weighing how much to say. "Just stuff to make sure I'm healthy. Nothing to worry about." But Emma was already worrying. Ethan could see it in the set of her shoulders, the way she pulled her blanket tighter. "You should sleep," Sarah said gently. "School tomorrow, remember? Can Ethan take us?" Sarah's eyes flicked to him. Questioning, he nodded. "Yeah, he can take you. Be good for him, okay? All three of you. We will. Love you, Mom. Love you more, baby. Sweet dreams." The call ended. Emma set the phone down carefully on her nightstand. "She's going to be okay," Ethan said. "How do you know?" "Because she has to be. You guys need her. What if needing her isn't enough?" God, this kid, 6 years old and already understanding that wanting something didn't make it true. "Your mom is the strongest person I know," Ethan said. "And she's got doctors helping her. She's going to come home." Emma nodded, but didn't look convinced. "Can you leave the door open? I don't like it closed all the way." "Sure thing." He started to leave, then heard her voice, small in the darkness. "Ethan." "Yeah. Thank you for today. Anytime, kiddo." He closed the door to a crack and stood in the narrow hallway, suddenly exhausted. His phone buzzed. Sarah calling back. "Hey," he answered. "They're all down. Thank you." She sounded like she might cry. "I can't believe this is happening. I had one job, stay healthy for them, and I couldn't even do that. Sarah, this isn't your fault. I've been so tired lately. I should have seen a doctor weeks ago, but I kept thinking I just needed to push through. And now," her voice broke, "now you're getting help. That's what matters. What if it's something bad? What if... We'll deal with it. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out. We..." Ethan leaned against the wall, staring at the ceiling. "Yeah, we. You're not alone in this anymore, whether you like it or not." Silence then, quietly. "I don't know how to not be alone in things. Neither do I. We'll figure that out too." A shaky laugh. "You're very confident for someone who couldn't manage bath time without flooding the bathroom. Emma told you about that. She tells me everything. Great. No pressure." Another pause, then. "How are you really doing with all this?" The question caught him off guard. "You're in the hospital and you're asking how I'm doing. You just had 3 kids dumped on you with 0 warning. That's a lot. It's..." He stopped. Tried to find honest words. "It's terrifying. I have no idea what I'm doing. Lucas asked me 12 questions about beetles, and I only knew the answer to one. Noah tried to eat toothpaste." Emma looked at me like I was the saddest thing she'd ever seen. Sarah actually laughed. "That sounds about right. But Sarah..." He pushed off the wall, walking to the living room window where the city lights stretched out endlessly. "I wouldn't be anywhere else, these kids. Your kids. They're amazing, and I know I have no right to them. No right to any of this. But I want to be here. I want to help. Why? Because 7 years ago I made the worst choice of my life, and I'm not making that mistake again. Because those 3 kids in there deserve better than an absent father. Because..." He stopped, the truth sitting heavy in his chest. "Because I'm falling in love with them. All 3 of them. And I know it's too soon, and I know I haven't earned it, but it's happening anyway." The line was quiet for so long he thought she'd hung up. "Sarah, I'm here." Her voice was thick. I don't know what to do with that. You don't have to do anything with it. I'm just telling you the truth. The truth is complicated. Yeah, it usually is." More silence then. "I should sleep. They're coming at 6 to draw blood again. Okay, text me when you know anything. I'll bring the kids by after school if they let visitors. Ethan, yeah, you did good today. The kids, they need consistency, stability, people who show up. I'm showing up. I'm starting to believe that. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't even close, but it was something. And right now, something felt like everything. After she hung up, Ethan walked through the small apartment, turning off lights, checking on sleeping kids one more time. Noah had kicked off his covers. Lucas was talking in his sleep. Something about caterpillars. Emma's nightlight cast soft shadows across her serious face. He stood there in the doorway. This man who'd spent 7 years building a life that meant nothing, watching 3 kids breathe in the darkness, and felt something shift inside him. This was what mattered. This was what he'd been missing. He pulled out his phone and texted Roberto. Clear my schedule for next week too. I'm exactly where I need to be. The call came at 11 in the morning, while Ethan was attempting to make sandwiches that didn't fall apart. He'd dropped the kids at school, come back to Sarah's apartment to clean up the breakfast disaster, and was planning to head to the hospital. His phone lit up with Sarah's number, and his heart immediately kicked into overdrive. Hey, he answered. I was just about to... They made a mistake. Her voice was strange, breathless, disbelieving. Ethan, they made a mistake. He froze, knife suspended over peanut butter. What? The original diagnosis. They sent my blood work to a specialist for a second opinion because something wasn't adding up. And... She laughed, the sound breaking. It's not what they thought. It's serious, but it's treatable. It's completely treatable. The knife clattered to the counter. What does that mean? It means I'm not dying. It means I have severe anemia and exhaustion, and I need treatment and lifestyle changes, and probably 3 months of iron infusions. But I'm not... Her voice cracked. I'm going to be okay. Ethan sat down hard on the nearest chair, legs suddenly unreliable. You're sure? They're absolutely sure. They ran the tests 3 times, brought in 2 different doctors. It's not... It was never what they initially thought. She was crying now. He could hear it. I was so scared. I kept thinking about the kids, about what would happen to them, and... But you're okay, Sarah. You're going to be okay. Yeah. A shaky laugh. Yeah, I am. They stayed on the line, both of them breathing, letting the relief wash over them in waves. Ethan realized his hands were shaking. When can you come home? He asked finally. They want to keep me 1 more night for observation. Start the first treatment tomorrow. But after that, I can go home. I just need to take it easy. Rest more, eat better, all the things I've been terrible at. We can help with that, the kids and me. We'll make sure you actually rest. Ethan, I'm serious. You've been doing this alone for 7 years. You don't have to anymore. Silence then. Quietly, I don't know how to not do everything myself. Then we'll figure it out together. Starting with me bringing 3 very worried kids to see you this afternoon. They need to know you're okay. They're going to lose it, Emma especially. She's been so worried. She's your daughter. Of course she has. Another pause. Ethan, about yesterday, what you said, you don't have to respond to that. I just needed you to know. But I want to. She stopped, started again. I've spent 7 years being angry at you, and I had every right to be. You left when I needed you most, and that doesn't just go away because you showed up at a flower cart. I know, but watching you with the kids these past weeks, and yesterday, the way you just stepped in without hesitation, I'm starting to see that maybe people can change. Maybe you really are different than the person who left. Ethan's throat tightened. I'm trying to be. I can see that, and I don't. I'm not ready to just forget everything and move forward like none of it happened. But maybe we can figure out what this is. What we are, for the kids' sake. And for ours. I don't know yet. Ask me again when I'm not in a hospital gown. He laughed, and it felt like something loosening in his chest. Deal. That afternoon, Ethan picked the kids up early, making some excuse to the school about a family situation. They piled into his car. Emma immediately suspicious. Why are we leaving early? Is Mom okay? Your mom's fine. Better than fine, actually. She has news. What kind of news? Lucas asked nervously. The good kind, but she wants to tell you herself. the drive to the hospital felt eternal. 3 kids bouncing with anxious energy in the back seat. Noah asked 17 questions that Ethan couldn't answer. Emma sat silent, knuckles white on her backpack straps. Lucas hummed tunelessly, his anxiety song. In the hospital lobby, they had to get visitor passes. The volunteer at the desk smiled at them. "Look at this crew. Your mom's going to be so happy to see you." They took the elevator to the 4th floor. The kids pressed close to Ethan like he was their anchor. When they reached Sarah's room, Emma pushed forward first, then stopped in the doorway. Sarah was sitting up in bed, looking tired but alive, a smile breaking across her face when she saw them. "Hey, babies." That was all it took. All 3 kids rushed forward, a tangle of hugs and tears and voices talking over each other. Emma buried her face in Sarah's shoulder. Noah climbed onto the bed despite the tubes and wires. Lucas grabbed her hand and held on like he might never let go. "You're okay," Emma kept saying. "You're really okay." "I'm really okay." Sarah caught Ethan's eyes over their heads, and he saw everything there. Relief, love, gratitude, fear finally releasing its grip. "The doctors made a mistake," Sarah explained, arms full of children. "What they thought was wrong wasn't actually what was wrong. I'm sick, but not scary sick. Just tired sick, and they know how to fix it." "So you're coming home?" Noah asked. "Tomorrow. Can we stay with you tonight?" "Hospital rules, buddy. But Ethan's going to take care of you one more night. Then I'll be home and we'll be together." "Will you be normal again?" Lucas wanted to know. "Eventually, yeah. I need to rest more, take better care of myself. You guys might have to help me with that." "We can do that," Emma said firmly. "We're good helpers." "I know you are." They stayed for an hour. The kids sprawled around Sarah's bed, telling her everything. What they had for breakfast, what happened at school, how Ethan couldn't make ponytails, but he tried really hard. Sarah listened to all of it, soaking up their voices like she'd been starving for them. Eventually, a nurse came in, apologetic but firm. "I hate to break this up, but your mom needs to rest." The goodbyes were hard. Noah crying, Lucas clinging, Emma trying to be brave and failing. Sarah kissed each of them, whispered promises, made them swear to be good. "I'll see you tomorrow," she told them. "I promise, tomorrow I'll be home." In the hallway, Ethan hung back while a volunteer helped the kids to the elevator. Sarah called him back. "Ethan." He stepped into the room. She looked small in the hospital bed, vulnerable in a way he'd never seen her. "Thank you," she said, "for everything. For yesterday, for today, for all of it. You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. You could have run. Most people would have, but you stayed. I told you I wasn't going anywhere." She held his gaze for a long moment. "When I get home, when things settle, I think we should talk. Really talk. About what this is, what we're doing. I'd like that. Not just for the kids, for us too." Something warm unfurled in Ethan's chest. Yeah. I'm not promising anything. I'm still angry about a lot of things, and we have a lot to work through, but maybe," she paused, choosing words carefully, "maybe there's a version of this where we figure it out, where we become something that works." "I'll take maybe," she smiled, and it was real, unguarded. "You're going to have to actually prove you've changed. Showing up for a few weeks isn't the same as showing up for years." "I know, and I will. I'll prove it every day if I have to. You might have to. I'm ready." Her expression softened. "I think you might actually be." A nurse bustled in with medication. Breaking the moment, Ethan stepped back toward the door. "I'll bring them tomorrow to pick you up," he said. "Ethan." She caught his hand as he turned. "We're going to be okay, all of us." It wasn't a declaration of love. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was hope. Fragile and new. And right now, that felt like enough. That night, back at Sarah's apartment, the kids were different. Lighter, louder. The fear that had been weighing them down finally lifted. They ate dinner at the tiny kitchen table, all of them talking at once. Noah spilled juice and Lucas told a 20-minute story about beetles, and Emma actually laughed at something Ethan said. At bedtime, when he tucked them in, Emma grabbed his sleeve. "Are you staying after Mom comes home?" "If you guys want me to. If your mom's okay with it?" "I think," She paused, considering. I think maybe we want you to stay. Then I'm staying. She nodded, satisfied. Okay, but you have to learn how to make better ponytails. Deal. He turned off the light, leaving the door cracked, and stood in the hallway listening to them settle. His phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. They okay? They're perfect, happy, planning to boss you around when you get home. Can't wait. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Ethan looked around the small apartment, the cluttered living room, the kitchen with dishes in the sink, the photos on the walls of a family he'd missed 7 years of. It wasn't the penthouse with the view. It wasn't the office with the corner window. But somehow, impossibly, it felt like home. Sarah came home on a Thursday afternoon, the kids practically vibrating with excitement. Ethan had helped them make a welcome home banner that hung slightly crooked in the living room. Noah had added 17 drawings. Lucas had included Beetle facts. To make Mom feel better, Emma had written in careful letters, "We missed you. Don't leave again." When Sarah walked through the door, still pale but standing on her own, the kids crashed into her like a wave. She sank onto the couch, arms full of children, laughing and crying at the same time. "I was only gone 3 days," she said. "That's forever," Noah informed her seriously. Ethan hung back, giving them space, but Sarah's eyes found his over the chaos. "Thank you," she mouthed. He nodded, something warm and complicated settling in his chest. The next few weeks developed a rhythm. Ethan came by most evenings after work, helping with dinner, homework, bedtime. Sarah was under strict orders to rest. Her iron levels were still dangerously low, and the treatments left her exhausted. She fought it at first, insisting she could handle everything herself, but eventually accepted help with varying degrees of grace. "I hate this," she said one night, watching Ethan fold laundry while she sat on the couch under doctor's orders. "I should be doing that. You should be resting. I've been resting for 2 weeks. I'm going to lose my mind." "Then lose your mind while sitting down." She threw a pillow at him. He caught it, grinning. The kids adapted faster than either adult. Noah started calling Ethan at random times with urgent questions. "Do penguins have knees?" Lucas showed him his entire beetle collection, complete with taxonomy lessons. Emma slowly, grudgingly, started to trust him, asking his opinion on things, accepting his help with homework, occasionally laughing at his terrible jokes. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan found Emma on the couch looking at a photo album. He sat down beside her, not too close. "What's that?" "Baby pictures. Mom made these before we were born. She wrote stuff about being pregnant with us." Ethan's heart clenched. "Can I see?" Emma hesitated, then passed it over. The pages were filled with ultrasound photos, little notes in Sarah's handwriting. 3 heartbeats today. I'm terrified and amazed. Emma kicked me 16 times during the ultrasound. Already assertive. I don't know how I'm going to do this alone. But I will. Ethan's throat tightened. "Your mom is the strongest person I know." "She had to be," Emma said quietly, "because our dad left." The words hung there. Ethan had known this conversation was coming eventually. He just hadn't expected it from a 6-year-old on a random Saturday. "Emma, I know it's you," she said, still looking at the album. "I'm not stupid. You look like Lucas, and Noah has your smile, and you're here all the time. And Mom looks at you different than she looks at other people." Ethan's heart hammered. "Does your mom know you figured it out?" "I don't think so. Lucas knows too. Noah's oblivious." She turned to face him then, and her eyes were so much older than they should be. "Are you going to leave again?" "No. People say that." "I know, but I mean it. Why did you leave before?" The question deserved honesty. "Because I was scared and selfish, and I thought my career was more important than being a father, and I was wrong about all of it. Do you wish we weren't born?" "God, no." The words came out fierce. "You 3 are the best thing that ever happened to me, even if I was too stupid to realize it 7 years ago." Emma studied him for a long moment. "If you hurt my mom again, I'll never forgive you." "That's fair. And you have to promise to stay. Really promise, not grown-up promising where you say things you don't mean." "I promise." "Emma, I'm not going anywhere." She nodded slowly, then did something that broke him. Leaned against his shoulder, still holding the photo album. Okay. They sat like that for a while, Ethan barely breathing, afraid to move and shatter the moment. That night, after the kids were in bed, Ethan and Sarah sat at the kitchen table with tea she was too tired to drink. "Emma knows," he said. Sarah looked up sharply. "Knows what? That I'm their father? She figured it out. Lucas too, apparently." "Oh," she set down her cup. "I was going to tell them. I just wanted to wait until you were sure I'd stick around." "Yeah, I'm not going anywhere, Sarah. I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it until you believe me. I want to believe you." Her voice was soft, tired. "I'm just scared." "Of what?" "Of this. Of letting you in and having you realize this life isn't what you want. That we're too complicated, too messy, too much work." Ethan reached across the table, covering her hand with his. "You're not too much. You're everything." She looked at their hands, then up at his face. "When did you get so good with words? I've had 7 years to think about what I should have said the first time. And what should you have said? That I loved you, that I was terrified but we'd figure it out together. That walking away from you was the biggest mistake of my life." He paused. "That I'd spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you'd let me." Sarah's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Ethan, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. But I want to say something." She turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. "I've been so angry for so long, I forgot what it felt like to not be angry. And then you showed up, and you kept showing up, and you're so good with them." Her voice cracked. "You're the father they deserved from the beginning. I'm trying. I know. And I see it. Every day. I see it." She took a shaky breath. "I'm not ready to just jump back into what we were. That version of us doesn't exist anymore. But maybe we could figure out who we are now. Start fresh. I'd like that. It won't be easy. I still have trust issues. The kids have questions. We have 7 years of mess to sort through. I know. And I need you to understand that they come first. Always. If this doesn't work between us, you don't get to disappear from their lives. You're their father now. That's permanent. I wouldn't have it any other way." Sarah smiled then, real and unguarded. "You really have changed. You changed me. They changed me." She stood up, and for a moment Ethan thought she was leaving. Instead, she walked around the table and did something that stopped his heart. Kissed him, soft and careful and full of 7 years of pain and hope tangled together. When she pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "I'm not promising forever," she said, "but I'm promising to try. That's all I'm asking." Over the next few weeks, something shifted. The kids, knowing the truth, started calling him Dad in casual moments. Noah first, then Lucas. Finally Emma in a quiet voice that sounded like trust. Sarah stopped fighting his help, accepting that partnership didn't mean weakness. They fell into patterns. Sunday mornings at the park, Wednesday pizza nights, bedtime stories that Ethan was getting better at. Ethan cut back his hours at work, delegating more, showing up for school events and doctor's appointments. His father called, disapproving and confused, but Ethan didn't care. This was the life that mattered. One evening, 3 months after Sarah came home from the hospital, Ethan found her on the fire escape, the tiny outdoor space where she came when she needed to think. "Room for one more?" he asked. She scooted over. They sat shoulder to shoulder, looking out at the city lights. "I have a question," Ethan said. "Uh-oh. I'm serious." He turned to face her. "I know we're taking things slow. I know we're still figuring this out. But Sarah, I'm in this, completely. And I want to make it official. Not just for the kids. For us." Her eyes widened. I'm asking if you'd consider being a family. Really a family with me." He pulled out a small box, hands shaking. "I'm not asking you to marry me right now. I know that's too soon. But this," he opened the box to reveal a simple ring. "This is a promise. That I'm here. That I'm staying. That I want to build a future with you and the kids." Sarah stared at the ring, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, you don't have to answer now. Just think about it. Think about what we could be if we really tried." She looked at him for a long moment, then did something unexpected. She laughed. "You're absolutely insane. Is that a no?" It's a yes, you idiot. She held out her hand. Put the ring on before I change my mind. He slid it onto her finger with shaking hands. It fit perfectly. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. But I want this. I want us. Yeah. They kissed on the fire escape while the city hummed below them. Two people who'd broken everything 7 years ago and were slowly, carefully, building it back into something new. Inside, 3 kids slept, oblivious to the fact that their family had just become official, but they'd figure it out. Together, 2 years later, the house was chaos in the best possible way. Toys scattered across the living room floor, crayon drawings taped to every available wall, the sound of children's laughter mixing with a baby's delighted shriek. Ethan stood in the kitchen of their new home, not huge, but big enough for a family of 7, trying to make pancakes while balancing a 6-month-old on his hip. The baby, Lily, grabbed at his hair with sticky fingers, babbling nonsense that somehow sounded like conversation. Dad, Noah took my marker, Emma's voice carried from the living room. I did not. She's lying, Noah shouted back. Nobody's lying. Everyone's getting pancakes, Ethan called. Come set the table. 2 years. 2 years since that night on the fire escape. 2 years of slowly, carefully building something that looked like a family and felt like home. They'd gotten married quietly 6 months ago. Just them and the kids and Doña Mercedes, who'd cried through the entire ceremony. No big production, no fancy venue. Just vows made in the park where they'd had their first real conversation with the triplets, where everything had started to heal. Sarah appeared in the kitchen doorway. Their second baby, James, 4 months old, cradled against her shoulder. She looked tired but happy, her hair in a messy bun, wearing one of Ethan's old shirts over leggings. Trade, she offered. He needs to eat, and I think Lily needs a diaper change. Deal. They swapped babies with the practiced ease of parents who'd learned to tag team everything. The triplets thundered into the kitchen. Now 8 years old and seemingly louder every day. Lucas immediately went to the window. Dad, there's a beetle on the glass. Can I keep it? No more beetles in the house, Sarah said automatically, settling into a chair to feed James. We talked about this, but this one is special. They're all special to you, buddy, Ethan said, flipping a pancake. You can observe it outside after breakfast. Emma grabbed plates from the cabinet without being asked. She'd appointed herself the responsible one, a role she took very seriously. How many pancakes are we making? Lots. Your brothers eat like bears. I'm a human, not a bear, Noah said, already climbing into his chair. But I do eat a lot. It's because I'm growing. You're always growing, Emma muttered. That's literally what kids do. The morning unfolded in its usual beautiful chaos. Pancakes were consumed in impressive quantities. Syrup ended up in places syrup should never be. James spit up on Sarah's shoulder. Lily discovered the joy of throwing food and tested this theory repeatedly. This was their life now, messy and loud, and nothing like the silent, sterile penthouse Ethan used to call home. It was perfect. After breakfast, while Sarah took the babies down for their morning nap, Ethan helped the triplets with their weekend homework. Emma finished hers in record time. As always, Lucas got distracted, researching the beetle outside instead of doing his math. Noah turned his book report into an elaborate story that had nothing to do with the actual book. Noah, you're supposed to summarize what happened in the story, not make up your own ending. My ending is better. The real ending was boring. That's not how book reports work. It should be. Ethan looked at Emma, who just shrugged. He's creative. He's going to fail 2nd grade. I'm not going to fail, Noah protested. I'm going to be a famous author who writes better endings for boring books. Sarah emerged from the hallway, finger to her lips. Both babies are down. We have maybe an hour of peace. Everyone speak quietly or face my wrath. The kids immediately started whispering dramatically, turning everything into a game. I need to run to the shop, Sarah said. Check on Mercedes. Make sure the new girl is working out. You good here? We're good. Take your time. She kissed him on her way out. Casual, comfortable, the kind of kiss that spoke of permanence rather than passion. Though there was plenty of that too, usually late at night when the kids were finally asleep and they could remember they were more than just parents. The flower shop was Sarah's again, sort of. She'd turned her street card into an actual storefront 6 months ago. With Ethan's help but in her name, she worked 3 days a week now, had hired help, actually took breaks. The original cart sat in the shop window, flowers spilling from it, a monument to survival. Ethan's phone buzzed. "Roberto, quarterly reports. Need your signature. When are you coming into the office? Monday, maybe? You know you're still technically the CEO, right?" "Technically. I promoted Chen to COO for a reason. Let her handle it. Your father would have a heart attack if he knew how little you worked now." My father had his chance to understand. He didn't take it. Richard Miller had, predictably, been furious about everything. The marriage, the instant family, Ethan's reduced work schedule. They'd had one final conversation where Ethan had explained that he'd rather be a present father to 5 kids than a successful CEO of a company that would forget him the moment he died. His father hadn't understood, probably never would, but that was okay. Some people couldn't see past their own definitions of success. Around noon, they all walked to the park, the same one where everything had changed. The triplets ran ahead to the playground. Ethan pushed Lily in the stroller while James slept in the carrier against his chest. Sarah walked beside him, their hands linked loosely. "I've been thinking," she said. "Dangerous." She elbowed him. "I'm serious. I've been thinking about everything. Where we started, where we are now, and I just..." She stopped walking, turning to face him. "I never thought I'd be here, happy, with you, with all of this, having regrets. God, no. The opposite. I'm just grateful, I guess, for second chances, for you actually being the person you promised to be. I'm just keeping my promises. I know. And that's..." Her voice caught. "That's everything." They stood there in the middle of the path, parents with strollers walking around them, their kids' voices carrying from the playground. "I love you," Ethan said. "I don't say it enough, but I do. You and those 5 crazy humans we somehow created. You're everything. I love you too, even when you make terrible pancakes. My pancakes are fine. They're really not." He kissed her, and it still felt like the first time, nerve-wracking and perfect and full of promise. "Dad?" Noah's voice carried across the park. "Come push me on the swings. Duty calls," Sarah said, smiling. They walked toward the playground together, toward the sound of their children's laughter, toward the life they'd built from ashes and apologies. Emma ran up to them, breathless. "Mom, there's a lady by the flower cart with the prettiest arrangement. Can we go see?" "The cart's at the shop, baby." "No, there's one here by the entrance with a sign that says Bennett Flowers." Sarah and Ethan exchanged glances. They walked toward the park entrance, kids trailing behind. And sure enough, there was Sarah's original cart, the one that should have been at the shop, set up with fresh flowers and a sign. Doña Mercedes stepped out from behind it, grinning. "Surprise. Mercedes, what?" "You started here," the old woman said, gesturing to the corner. "This spot. This is where your life changed. So today, we celebrate, where it all began." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "You didn't have to?" "Yes, I did. You're my daughter in everything but blood. And this..." She gestured to Ethan, to the kids, to the life surrounding them. "This is what resilience looks like. This is what love looks like when you don't give up." The triplets gathered around the cart, examining flowers, arguing about which ones were prettiest. Lily reached for a sunflower from the stroller. James slept through it all, peaceful against Ethan's chest. Ethan stood back, watching his family, because that's what they were now, fully and completely his family, and felt something settle in his chest. Peace, maybe, or just the quiet knowledge that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Sarah caught his eye across the cart, surrounded by children and flowers and sunlight, and smiled. Not the guarded smile from 2 years ago, not the careful smile of someone protecting themselves from more hurt. Just a smile, open and real and full of love. "Thank you," she mouthed. "For what?" He mouthed back. "For coming back. For staying." He crossed to her, pulled her close despite the kids and the cart and Mercedes watching with knowing eyes. "Thank you for letting me," he whispered against her hair. "For giving me a second chance I didn't deserve. You earned it. Every day. You earn it." The sun was setting over the city, painting everything gold. The triplets chased each other around the cart. The babies gurgled and cooed. Mercedes hummed an old song while arranging flowers. This was it. This was everything. Not the life Ethan had planned at 29, running toward success and away from responsibility, but the life he'd found at 37, running toward the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of showing up for the people who needed him, of being present, of being loved, not despite his mistakes, but because he'd finally learned from them. Sarah looked up at him, flowers in her hair, babies in their arms, children at their feet. Ready to go home, she asked. Home, not an apartment or a penthouse or an address, but a place where 5 kids waited, where memories were made daily, where love was loud and messy and absolutely worth every second. Yeah, Ethan said, kissing her forehead. Let's go home. And together, their imperfect, beautiful, hard-won family walked into the golden light of evening, carrying flowers and babies and the promise of tomorrow.